pleasure as principal of Hamtramck High School to be your mistress of ceremonies at tonight's commencement. Graduates, that was beautiful. You had me nervous earlier, but that was beautiful. You do good work. and I'm very proud to stand in front of you. Honored guests, friends, and family, thank you for joining us for this evening for the commencement exercises for the class of 2014. Would everyone please rise? Gentlemen, take off your hats for the National Anthem, which will be performed by Miss Dominique Davis.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we've watched, we're so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare and the bombs bursting in through the night, that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
All right, you may have a seat. All right, I'm going to try to be louder. I'd like to introduce tonight the people who have been here, many of them, with your students, even since kindergarten, first grade, have been here with your students through their education. If you would please stand when your name is called. From the Board of Education, the President, Mr. Titus Walters. Ms. Myrick cannot be here tonight as she has others graduating in her family, but also always here in spirit, Ms. Yvonne Myrick. Here tonight supporting the students is Secretary Ms. Hetty Shogun. And also Treasurer Mr. Alan Shogun. We have three trustees with us here tonight, Mr. Eric Berkman, Mr. Evan Majors, and Ms. Magdalena Schrodick. Also someone who is here tonight that probably was your principal at one time and has always been so dedicated to this district, the Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Thomas Nietzsche. Here tonight also from the Building Administration is Mr. Jeremy Cartwright. And our senior class sponsor, Mr. Terry Laframboise. Also the two ladies who helped you get through all this, Mrs. Starks and Mrs. Hurt from the counseling department. I'd also like to thank from the curriculum department, Ms. Sherilyn Charnes. And from the Finance Office, Ms. Sherry Lynham. And another very important guest here tonight who has helped many of you as well get to this exciting occasion, Ms. Cynthia Dow from Horizon. I would also like to introduce probably the people who spent the most time with your students beside for you. They're there in the back, looking as serious as they are every day. The faculty of Hamtramck High School and Horizon Adult Education. Teachers, please stand. Please stand to be recognized, teachers. Thank you. On behalf of the graduating class of 2014, they wanted to give their thanks also to Ms. Kathleen Hanlon, Ms. Lanice Ruiz, Ms. Tiffany, and Ms. Heidi Sekula for putting together this evening for you. Thank you for that. There are many of us here tonight. Please remember that these students have worked very hard. I look out over them and I see a class so full of pride. They have worked very hard to get here and are one of the largest graduating classes that we've had in many, many years. They deserve all their accolades tonight. Two of the students that will be speaking for you tonight represent the top of their class, Valedictorian Ahmed Ali and Salutatorian Ms. Majeda Raki. We will now hear from our Salutatorian, Ms. Majeda Raki.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the most kind, the most merciful. Good evening, teachers, parents, friends, and graduates of 2014. Getting this honor is an amazing feeling, being acknowledged for all of the hard work and sacrifices I made these past years. Makes me feel as though all finally paid off. I want to thank my parents for their tremendous support during my journey to this special day. I know I could not have done this without you. Also, I would like to thank my older sister for her words of encouragement. Never give up. 3 years ago, I came to America with my parents and siblings for a better life and opportunities. When I first came here, everything was different from back home. It was difficult for me to adapt into this new environment and culture, especially when I first started school. Unlike most of the students, I started school here in my sophomore year. The language was the most challenging part of my high school life. But with the support and assistance of my teachers, friends, and the administration, I've learned the language quickly. I would like to give special thanks to Ms. Morial, Ms. Zaporsky, and Mr. Falfesky, who were my English teachers and helped out through my high school career to learn English correctly. I would also like to thank most wonderful, caring, and understanding teachers who made my every year memorable. Without all of their assistance, this honor would never have been possible. These people are Miss Humans, Miss Paps, Miss Georgeska, Miss Lassen, Miss Zacharias, Mr. Salam, Mr. Robertson, Dr. Jalaj, my counselor, Miss Turks, and Principal Westreet. Thank you for all you have done. The people that high school unforgettable also deserve thanks. My best friend Millie and Suhana for always being there, supporting me, and giving all best wishes for my success. Also Ohana, Tanya, Shahnaz, Fariha, Jardana, and Amal. Thank you all for your help, your patience, and your friendship. No matter where we go or what we do, there are challenges ahead of us. What I am asking from each of you and from myself is to meet those challenges straight on with your head held high and your heart wide open. You must try to excel in everything you do. Strive for excellence in every task, large or small. This will lead you to reach your goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Majeda. At this time, I would like you to give your attention to a young man who has worked very hard over these last 4 years. He's an all-around student. He's a scholar. He's been involved in a lot of extracurricular activities. And most of all, he's really grown through these 4 years. I think all of us can say that we've seen him moved from a young man that was very reserved to someone that knew how to be a leader. And so we're very honored to have him tonight as our valedictorian. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Ahmed Ali.
Good evening, guests, teachers, and staff, and my fellow graduates. Let me start off by saying that I know everybody has places to go and things to do, so I'll try to make this brief. I know it sounds like a cliche, but truly this is a day we have all been waiting for. All of our hard work, our blood, sweat, and tears, and for some people that's literal, has finally paid off. Congratulations to the class of 2014, we made it. I'm not finished yet. I'd like to start off by saying a few words to my fellow graduates. Please take what you learned during your high school experience and use it. There's nothing worse than letting knowledge go to waste and not benefiting yourself and others. For those of you going off to college, which I really hope everybody attempts, don't forget where you came from and always stay true to yourself. There's nothing wrong with having fun in college, but keep in mind why you're there in the first place. Also, keep in mind that it doesn't really matter where you go, so long as you actually apply what you learned and benefit society. As my senior quote says, with every difficulty comes relief. So even though you may struggle X amount of years in college, in the end, it truly pays off. Shout out to all my friends and anybody who has ever made me laugh or smile, because these are the moments I'll always remember. Shout out to my friend, the prom king, and his queen. Shout out to the Sahedi family. Thank you for the balloons and flowers. And all my neighbors on Goodson Block. As we all know, the competition to secure the position of valedictorian and salutatorian is tough. When the valedictorian and salutatorian were named this year, one of my classmates who was in the race for these positions told me this is why I wanted to be either first or second, because if you're not one of those two positions, everybody forgets about you and your rank. These words really affected me because unfortunately they are true. So I've decided to take a moment, share some of the spotlight, and acknowledge those students so that their hard work and ranks are not forgotten. Congratulations to Alexander Chabowski, the Kazi Rahman twins, Mitul Perkesta, Burnett Shines, Hussein Ahmed, and Sadiq Mohammed. These are the top students in our school who could have easily just as been up here had it not been for a few tenths of a GPA. Unfortunately, however, there can only be one number one. Now, what would Hamtramck High School be without its teachers and staff? If I were to thank everybody that has ever supported me, we'd be here all day. So I'd like to take a moment and thank those teachers who were extremely helpful during this year. I'd like to thank Ms. Kroon, my counselor, Ms. Hurt, and my AP teachers, Mr. Salam and Ms. Coral, for writing excellent letters of recommendation that undoubtedly had an influence on my admissions to U of M. I'd like to also thank Ms. Tabakovic for revising my college admissions essays and this speech. I'd also like to commend Ms. Bilat, who despite it being her first year as our NHS Charter Advisor, did a fantastic job. I want to thank Ms. Zillick, who has been extremely helpful this year, especially when it came to picture day and receiving my cap and gown. I'd also like to thank Ms. Starks and Ms. Hanlon of the counseling office for all they've done for me as well. I'd like to give a shout out to my teacher, Ms. Pabst. Honestly, I had no intention of taking Spanish had it not been a U of M requirement. Now I'm actually quite glad I did because I met one of the most outstanding and nicest teachers in the building. And because of you, I am now trilingual for the most part. I'd also like to give a shout out to Mr. Nezic, whose biology class made me want to go into the medical field. You're an excellent teacher who taught us not only academically, but gave us life lessons as well. I would say that I've never learned more in a single class than in your biology class, but I had Mr. Salam for math and physics. Speaking of Mr. Salam, a teacher that I took 5 classes with throughout high school, I'd like to thank you for pushing us so hard. At times, doing homework every single day, and I mean every single day, was frustrating, but now I realize everything you did was only to prepare us for college. And that's my advice for anybody taking Mr. Salam's class. Just push through it and roll with the punches, because eventually it will pay off. Last but definitely not least, I'd like to thank my family. Thanks to my brothers who had my back no matter what and kept me on the straight path. For example, they'd always tell me, don't get a job, we'll give you whatever you need, and that's one of the main reasons for my success. I'd also like to thank my sister who supported me and who I can always go to for advice. I love you guys. Most importantly, I'd like to thank the person who I owe all my success to. If not for this person, I would not be here, both figuratively and literally, my mother. I know at times that being a single parent was tough, but I am evidence you did a great job. Thank you for being patient with me, especially during those times when I took out my anger on you for no reason. For waking me up in the morning and staying up late with me at night when I needed to finish something for school. For always asking how school was and listening to my victories and defeats. Thank you for the millions of things you do for me and that I sometimes take for granted. I love you with all my heart, and I hope I've made you proud. I entered the school as a Cosmo. And now I'm leaving as a Wolverine. I owe all to everybody aforementioned. Once again, congratulations to the class of 2014. I wish you the best in all of your future endeavors, and always remember, even though you're graduating, it's never too late to be what you might have been. And I didn't forget, happy birthday, Moriam.
Let's give Ahmed another round of applause. That was amazing, Ahmed. You did a beautiful job. We're now going to move into the portion. Everyone got it out? Mr. Jeremy Cartwright will introduce our keynote speaker, Ms. Amber Patterson.
Tonight I have the honor of introducing Ms. Amber Thornton Patterson. But before we bring her to the podium, I'd like to give you a little bit of background on this incredible lady. Ms. Patterson retired in 2009 as manager of General Motors Engineering College for General Motors North American Product Development. Prior to joining General Motors, Amber was the Dean of Graduate and Undergraduate Admissions at Marygrove College. A native of Michigan, Amber received her secondary diploma from Hamtramck High School in 1966. A bachelor's degree in psychology from Mercy College of Detroit, and a master's in education administration focusing on adult and continuing education from the University of Detroit. Now retired, Amber spends time overseeing the prayer ministry at her church. She is involved with local charities. Ms. Patterson also volunteers her time to work with the students of Hamtramck High School through the GM Service Corps. This will be the second year. It is with great pleasure I give you the 2014 Keynote Speaker and Cosmos alumnus, Ms. Amber Thornton Patterson.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cartwright. While I was listening to my introduction, I was sitting there thinking, when I was sitting where you are sitting, none of that was in my thoughts to do when I grew up. In fact, when I look at you, I see my past, I see my present, and I see the future. Now, 48 years ago, I was sitting where you are today with my white gown, my maroon tassel, excited, a little anxious in terms of what I was going to do. Let me tell you a little bit about me. This place, Hamtramck High School, was part of my foundation, my education, my spirituality, my family values, and community. So, here I was, establishing all my social skills, talents, determining what I wanted to be when I grew up. Well, my first job was here in Hamtramck at Federal's department store. That's now your Shoppers World. At that time, that was a retailer that was paying the highest minimum wage. I earned the highest salary compared to my colleagues working at other places. I made $1.25 an hour. Woo! I was in the money. I learned to speak Polish because at that time, Hamtramck was also very diverse. but the demographics were a little different. So I learned to speak Polish so that I could greet the Polish shoppers at Federal's department store. My favorite classes were music, social sciences, English, and journalism. I also played field hockey. I tried my hand at tennis, I tried my hand at basketball, but I didn't break any records, and I didn't make the Hall of Fame like my classmate Rudy Tomjanovich. Well, the highlight of my high school experience was serving as a reporter on the school paper, The Cosmos. Also, being a member of the yearbook staff, writing articles for the local paper, which was at that time The Citizen. These experiences triggered my interest and my desires to become a journalist. Well, I applied for college, like many of you have done, to pursue a journalism degree. When my mother and I met with the counselor at the college, the counselor discouraged my choice of a profession because at that time there was not any opportunity for a person of color in the arena of journalism. There was no Diana Lewis. There was no Carolyn Clifford. There wasn't an Oprah. So I didn't have a plan B. So I was discouraged, but I started college anyway. Now let me fast forward. I dropped out of my first year of college. I was in love. I got married, had 2 lovely children. Was that fast forward enough? Marriage and life, it wasn't easy for me. I made some good choices and then some not so good choices. Later, as a single mother, I returned to college part-time, going year-round. It took me 9 years to receive my bachelor's degree in psychology and a teacher's certification. This time was a time of sacrificing and many, many prayers. My aspirations changed after these experiences. Now, what I wanted to do was to assist high school graduates and to give direction to single mothers, of which I had been. I taught high school for 5 months. I was laid off. I was one of the 2,000 that were laid off from the Detroit Public Schools, but that did not deter me. I continued on, and I started as a recruiter for a private high school, a private college here in the Detroit area. I was promoted, and my career in higher education prepared me and grew me professionally. I became the dean of admissions and recruitment from where I started, which was in the beginning a single parent going through college, taking 9 years. After my experience at the college, where I was responsible for recruitment to the college, I was responsible for international student recruitment, which was a highlight of my life. During that time, my 2 children graduated from high school. I then moved on to General Motors, where I was responsible for the distant learning program for engineers. This position grew me, and I grew the position. The program grew throughout the U.S., Mexico, India, China, and so many other places. I led the diversity training for engineers, for the engineering staff. I was operations manager for GM Engineering College. What a ride. What a career for a person who, in the beginning, wanted to be a journalist. So, now, I loved my career, even though it wasn't the one I had chosen. Now, I retired. Here I am with you, back at home. This is home for me. Last year, I was asked to participate in a GM student program. Initially, I said no, because my responsibility at my church was just a little overwhelming. I oversee a 24-hour prayer center operation, and we pray for people from across the world. I received an email asking me to reconsider my position because Hamtramck High School needed a third person. I said, my alma mater. So of course I had to accept that position. Myself and 5 other GM retirees had the honor and the privilege of working with 10 Hamtramck High School students. These students walked into an opportunity expecting one thing, but found it to be totally different. I want you to listen to what these students did, your colleagues, your fellow graduates, what they did, and their actions are all characteristics for success. They expected to probably serve at General Motors, next to the president, next to engineering directors, learn the ropes, but instead they ended up cleaning parks. I want you to listen to me because this is important. These characteristics that these individuals displayed are all characteristics for success in life. These students, they adapted to changing circumstances. They entered the program thinking one way, but they adapted to those circumstances that were totally different. They had a positive attitude toward the goals that they established. They demonstrated organizational skills. These are all very important characteristics. Their approach to accomplishing the task. They were great collaborators and worked together harmoniously as a team. They didn't always agree, but they were able to reach consensus. They showed initiative and creativity in every project. They worked very hard. They showed professionalism. They showed respect for one another. For us, the GM retirees, and for the officials and participants from other high schools, even the alcoholic at the park. I saw in each of them family values, spirituality, and love for their community. Will the participants in the GM program that are present here today please stand? These individuals did an excellent excellent job on representing their high school, representing their community, and representing each and every one of you and their families. So, I miss you guys. So, what about the future now? What about the future? What are you thinking? What paths will you take? What impacts will you make? In your families, in your communities, in your place of worship, in the world? Something to think about. Some of you will go to college and pursue professions. Some will go into family businesses where you will initiate growth, perhaps implement new marketing ideas and strategies, and make improvements in customer service. Others may start their own businesses. Some may pursue nonprofit organizations and help people that are in need. As you move forward, remember, be yourself, but don't dig your feet in and say, I'm not changing. Allow yourself to grow, to be stretched. Being stretched isn't always comfortable, but it can open doors for you. Be receptive to new ideas, to new experiences, and to new opportunities, even though it may be something that you never thought you would do. Be willing to challenge yourself, as you will be challenged by others. It does promote your growth. Continue to learn, because learning is a lifelong process. Avail yourself to help others. I like to say, as you are being blessed, be a blessing. Give back. Play it forward. And there's something that we all can do. That is to pray for each other, for our communities, and for our country and the world. I wish you all thank you. I wish you all success in every goal that you set your mind to accomplish. I'd like to say a blessing over you. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace. I love you. Congratulations, Hamtramck High, class of 2014. Okay.
I'd like to thank Amber for once again for honoring us with her presence. Thank you for all your words of encouragement, not only today, but during our summer internship as well. You were a truly great mentor, and I'll never forget all the advice and hugs you gave us. On behalf of the yearbook staff of 2014 and the GM interns of both the past year and present, I'd like to present you with this Hamtramck High School yearbook.
Oh, thank you so much, Ahmed.
May you take joy in reading the comments written inside.
I will.
As mentioned, you were a member of the yearbook committee when you were a Cosmo, not that long ago, of course.
Right.
And it's just a shame that you couldn't have taken the class under the best yearbook teacher that has ever walked the halls of Ham High, Ms. Zillick.
Oh, Ms. Zillick. Thank you and congratulations to you all. Love you much.
Okay, guys, we're getting closer to the time. How you feeling? Good? I'm getting ready? So close. I told you yesterday was my last day with you yesterday, and now today we've really reached the mark. So we have one more person I'd like to speak to you here tonight. It's now with great pleasure I introduce Mr. Nichai, Superintendent of Schools, to give congratulatory remarks.
Good evening. It's an honor and privilege to be standing here before parents, family members, friends, staff, and students. There's no more exciting day than high school graduation in the classic, traditional, and unique Hamtramck style. First and foremost, congratulations to the 134th graduating class of Hamtramck High School, the 5th graduating class of Horizon Alternative Adult Education, and our 20th year of GED programming. HHS has 176 graduates, Horizon 38, and GED 5. I want to begin by letting everyone know that Hamtramck High School class of 2014 has earned $2.5 million in college scholarships. Again, $2.5 million in scholarships. That's an amazing amount earned by amazing students, taught by amazing teachers, amazing administrators, and an amazing support staff. Right about now, the 219 soon-to-be graduates are starting to feel their hearts beat a little quicker, leading up to the moment when their name is announced. The long-anticipated moment of recognition is almost here, students. Today is your moment in the sun. Be patient and wait. The waiting time has gone from years to months to days, and now it's down to minutes. I will be brief. If you look at your program, you'll see that the HHS Class of 2014 song is "It's Time" by the Imagine Dragons. There is a verse in the song that goes, "I don't ever want to let you down. I don't ever want to leave this town, because after all, the city never sleeps at night. It's time to begin, isn't it? Right to the top, don't hold back." Many of the soon-to-be graduates began their education in Hamtramck Public Schools in preschool and worked their way through 12th grade. They started here, stayed here, and succeeded here. We are especially proud of those students. With that being said, no matter when you enrolled in HBS, we're glad you did, and of course, we are proud of all HBS students. Look around here, see the diversity. A diverse population is uniquely American, and Hamtramck is uniquely diverse. Diversity is something to celebrate. Being in a diverse environment provides an opportunity to learn from someone who most likely has a different perspective based on their life experience. That's a powerful learning environment. It will help immensely in working with others after life here in HPS. Also in your program, you see that Hamtramck High's Class of 2014 has the following quote: "It's never too late to be what you might have been." I strongly encourage you to be graduates, to believe in yourself to the depths of your being. You have the ability, you have the skills, you have the education, and you have the opportunities. But this alone is not enough. You have to know beyond a shadow of doubt that you've got what it takes to make a success of your life. Believe always in your talents that you have nurtured over the years and continue to nurture them. There's no place for complacency. There's no room for apathy. Now is not the time to sit back and relax. You must continually strive to extend yourself even further, little by little, every day, every week, every month, and every year, because it is never too late to be what you might have been. If you are able to do this, if you're able to believe, then your spirit is free to grow beyond the restraints your mind might create. Take heart when progress seems slow. Work hard and play straight, and the courage of your conviction will endure. Your work ethic will surmount obstacles in your way, and ultimately, your success will become a reality, something tangible and achievable. To quote John Quincy Adams, may your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, and become more. On behalf of the Board of Education, the entire Hamtramck Public School staff, congratulations to the soon-to-be 2014 graduates. Everyone is proud of your achievements. You are the face of Hamtramck Public Schools. Cosmos today, Cosmos tomorrow, Cosmos forever. Upon reviewing the records and grades of the students for their graduating class of 2014, I find them all in order and present them to you for graduation.
Thank you, Mr. Nichai. Well, folks, we found the time. I see you straightening up. I see you ready. At this time, I would like to ask the board president, Mr. Titus Walters, and at this time, the board president, Ms. Hetty Shogun, to step forward to present the diplomas to the class. You guys remember this part? I would like you to, assisting her will be class officers Fatima Nasser and Bianca Martinez, who will read the names of our graduates. All right. Honor guard, take your position.
Assam Abbas. Amina Ajik. Abdul Ahad. Tanjin Ahmed. Fahim Ahmed. Hussein Ahmed. Hussein Ahmed. MD Naeem Ahmed. Naeem Ahmed. Noshad Ahmed. Ohana Ahmed. Reem Ahmed. Raju Ahmed. Tanvir Ahmed. Umi Ahmed. Zakia Ahmed. Shanaj Akhtar. Anthony Akra. Farhana Akhtar. Sadiq Al-Bamarki. Mujahid Al-Ghazali. Malik Al-Halmi. Bali Al-Halmi. Mohammed Al-Halmi. Ahmed Ali. Asim Ali. Hassan Ali. Muad Ali. Nisat Ali. Farouk Al-Galal. Najmuddin Al-Galal. Karela Al-Kalani. Hannah Al-Masari. Nabhan Al-Maliki. Malik Al-Riyashi. Hadiga Al-Saidi. Angam Al-Saidi. Yunus Al-Wagi. Marzouk Al-Wagi. Aladia Al-Zakari. Taha Anakib. Muhammad Arafuzaman. Galal Aradi. Sami Ashaf. Nasim Ayash. Sahara Ballinger. Aliyah Begum. Fariha Begum. Kalpana Begum. Maryam Begum. Shayla Begum. Sharmin Begum. Shuhada Begum. Tamina Begum. Tanya Begum. Aliyah Belcher. Alicia Bell. Ashley Bell. Stefan Beverly. Demonica Beverly Jackson. Alkami Billick. Krlan Bonner. Mercedes Bowles. Darius Brooks. Adora Brown. Samila Bukarich. Deja Bird. Alexandra Chabowski. Reba Chowdhury. Andrea Daka. Demetrius Davis. Dominique Davis. Kayla Davis. Courtney Davis. Demarella Dedich. Alamin Didar. Mohammed Fidel. Saif Fidel. Sorry Fidel. Mohammed Faisal. Mohammed Mahir Faisal. Austin Felmy. Kathy Felton. Belmina Fetich. Dwan Fleming. Precious France. Tamina Gopher. Joy Gope. Daniel Gubin. Jahangir Hassan. Ziad Hasnawi. Alexis Hill. Jabari Hodge. Vaughn Hopkins. Destiny Horton. Alexis Howard. Mabubo Huda. Galal Hussein. Pamela Hyde. Tamima Imi. Alante Ingram. Jardana Iqbal. Jawahir Ishmael. Yusuf Ismail. Crystal Jackson. Sarah Jakupovich. LaQuinton James. Zabiba Jawani. Wada Cade. Ahidul Kamali. Fahim Kamali. Mahfouz Khan. Safayat Khan. Antar Korin. Christian Lampkin. Trevion Lane Trammell. Anthony Lepkowski. Cassie Lewis. Justin Ludwig. Arusa Mahmood. Dola Malik. Asan Mamoon. Jasmine Mareki. Bianca Martinez. Fahima Mayton. Austin McFarlane. Keith Meadows. Rasida Mia. Rahul Mia.
Famida Millie. Marcus Miller. Tamana Mimi. Angel Mitchell. Anwar Mohammed. Sadiq Mohammed. Desari Moses. Majibin Mumu. Emir Musanovic. Yasser Naji. Abdullah Namer. Fatima Nasser. Manal Obaid. Adam Ortel. Demetrius Owens. DeMarco Palmer. Tabraya Pearson. Nathaniel Peoples. Alana Prim. Matul Perkayesta. Amadur Rahman. Hajira Rahman, Halima Rahman, Kazi Mafujur Rahman, Kazi Madood Rahman, Majeda Raki, Diana Rivera, Mumar Rizanovich, Khalid Saleh, Joaria Sarfraz, Brunette Shines, Safer Suyeb, Wafa Sadiq, Tracy Simpkins, D'Angelo Slappy, Zanat Sultana, Alexis Swanson, Tamar Tallison, Desiree Talley, Jamaica Thompson, Jesse Torres, Dwayne Truelove, Gerald Washington, Shaimisha Williams-Lewis, Rafuz Zaman,
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present Ms. Cynthia Dow, Director of Horizon High School and Adult Education, who will present her graduates their diplomas.
Good evening. Hamtramck has something to offer from preschool, kindergarten, 1 through 12. We have alternative, we have adult, and we have GED. As Mr. Nietzsche said, you start here, you stay here, and you succeed here. Congratulations, 2014 class graduates. Horizon, Dante Andrews, Kyrie Bolden, Alexis Cooper, Jasmine Crawford, Asil Fidel, Mukhtar Fidel, Mel Gittins, Adil Hamed, Demetrius Hartman, Dimitri Higginbotham, Tariq Hussein, put those glasses on. Patrick Ivory Clark, Alexander Mock, Gadia Mills, Michelle Moxon, Sade Moore, Shudraf Mohammadiv, Ibrahim Mushed, Idris Richardson, Jonathan Solomon, Farzana Udan, Raven Williams. Those are our alternative graduates. The adult division, you're never too old to go back to school. Farhad Ahmed. Tariq Amin. Eva Begum. Lisa Darby. Sami Fadhel. Aksan Habib. Irvin Mott. Abdul Mustaq. Farzana Tina. And our GED graduates. No, that's okay. They have an envelope coming later. Nazeen Akhtar. Romana Chowdhury. Adrian Henderson Johnson. Halima Rahman. Congratulations, Horizon students.
On behalf of the Board of Education, the entire Hamtramck community, thank you, Ms. Dow. We very much appreciate you. Enjoy your retirement.
All right, folks, it's not time to leave. We have one more person to hear from and one more thing you guys get to do. So could everyone please have a seat back from the rails? If I could have some assistance with the reserves. Back from the rails, please. Mostly on this side. Guys. All right. The president of this year's senior class, you guys ready? We're going on without him. The president of this year's senior class, Mr. Yunus Al-Waji, will give the closing remarks to the class of the 2014.
Good evening, my fellow graduates, staff, and honored guests. 13 years ago, when we were all about 5 years old, when the cartoon characters on our 17-inch TV screens were our best friends, when we were so unfamiliar with the people and life outside of the confines of our homes, when we had no responsibilities, no worries, we all met up at our kindergarten classes and began a journey. At the time, we had no idea what the objective of this journey was. This journey that would help us see new faces. This journey that would build relationships and test our patience. This journey that most of us refer to as school. After kindergarten, the majority of us attended one of 3 elementary schools: Holbrook, Dickinson West, or Dickinson East. It was in these schools that we started lasting friendships. It was in these schools where the highlight of our day was lunch and recess. It was also in these schools that we experienced the first of many changes to happen to Hamtramck Public Schools. Instead of having 6th grade at middle school, we would say 1 more year at elementary. We all got mad and made a fuss about the decision, but 6th grade year turned out to be my favorite year of elementary. The next stop in our journey, middle school, was an interesting one. New teachers, new schedule format, and no more recess. Our bodies started to change, some of our voices were getting deeper, and we had zits on our faces the size of ping pong balls. Here we started to mold and realize what type of people we were. It was also in middle school where we experienced another change to Hamtramck Public Schools. A dress code was introduced that would require all students to wear uniforms. To this day, there are still students who haven't gotten over that decision. The next part of our journey has been my favorite so far. We began our high school career the same year Miss Westray, our principal, was hired. So our class is the first to experience the full 4 years under her supervision, and the end product is a graduating class of over 170 seniors. If in middle school we realized who we were, in high school we realized what type of people we wanted to be. Some of us joined sports teams like football or basketball and worked out after school. Some of us joined after-school clubs like student council or student government and organized school events to raise money. We picked up jobs so we could have extra cash in our pockets. We stressed over some classes and stayed up all night wishing school wasn't invented. We breezed through other classes and felt like nothing was impossible. We were inspired by teachers, parents, and siblings. We screamed at pep rallies, cheered at games, and danced at prom. We made friends and lost friends. We went through silly phases. We tried crazy hairstyles. We got in trouble. We laughed. We cried. And it was all worth it. I'd like to take this time to thank the people that helped me get through high school. First, the teachers. I'd like to thank Mr. Robertson, Mrs. Tabakovic, and Mr. Mullen for helping me get assimilated to my high school freshman year. I'd like to thank Mr. Nezic, Ms. Kroon, and Mr. Rostek for helping me get through a rough sophomore year. I'd like to thank Mrs. Zaporsky, Ms. Molnar, Mr. Evanoff, and Mr. Preston for being some of the best teachers I ever had. I'd like to thank Ms. Lassen, Ms. Zillick, Mr. Sarkic, and Ms. Parker for keeping my head in the game during senior year. I'd like to thank my dad, Ali Mahdi, for giving me his full support and never asking me for anything. You provided me with supplies and stability throughout my life. I'd like to thank my mom for giving me all the love in the world. You were always on the receiving end of my triumphs and complaints. I'd like to thank my oldest brother and my best friend, Heikel, for being my backbone and for giving me consistent advice about life. If I had any questions about anything, I came to you knowing you'd have an answer. I'd like to thank my brother Azhad, who's not here, and Yaqub and my sister Suda for keeping me sane with their corny jokes. You all are the reason that I'm here, and making you proud has been the most effective motivation. I love you all, and I thank you for everything that you've done for me. I'd like to thank the rest of my class officers, Assam, Fatima, Bianca, Mahfouz, Manal, and our class sponsor, Mr. Laframboise. We weren't the best bunch. I mean, we just weren't very good. Lastly, I'd like to thank all of my friends for giving me something to look forward to during school. I've been fortunate enough to experience high school with you all, and I couldn't imagine me getting through it without you guys. I may not have always said it, but I couldn't have asked for a better class. If I were to do this all again, I'd do it with all of you. Some of you may think that this is the end of our journey, but it's not. Our high school years have been great, but this is not our final stop. We need to move on from our past so we could progress into our future. Because if we keep looking back at the path we've already traveled, even though it is a great accomplishment, we'll lose focus on moving forward to our endless possibilities. At this time, I'd like to ask all of my fellow graduates to please rise. Please join me in turning your tassels from right to left, indicating that you have graduated. Congratulations to you all.
Before we conclude tonight's commencement, let me thank you parents and guardians for having been here with them, raising them, supporting them, and letting us work with them. And let me wish on behalf of the Hamtramck Board of Education, Hamtramck High School, Horizon, and the adult education faculty the very best for all of you. At this time, if the Hamtramck faculty and Hamtramck Public Schools board members would rise and form our new traditional honor guard.